Okay. Today we are doing our recovery mindset mental health podcast. So this is Matt from Flashpoint Performance in Greenville, South Carolina. And I'm Kylan. You guys know me. So yeah.
Yeah, how y'all doing? Excited to be on here. I guess this is obviously a huge topic, and obviously, Kylan, you're a mental health awareness advocate, and kudos to you on that. I really have a lot of respect for you on that.
Thank you.
So super excited. I'd love to just hear, I guess, I mean, mental health is so huge in sports and recovery. Me being a PT, I see it all the time where, I mean, there's studies that say that prolonged recovery because of it or increased injury rate to happen from it. But I'd love to hear just your story on this. Like, why is it such a huge topic for you? Because it's critical, but a lot of people take a while to get to this point.
Yeah. I think I've struggled with mental health like into entering like end of middle school and entering high school. So it had always been a really big topic for me just in my own life. And so when I learned about what mental health was, and it took me a really long time to kind of, suck it up and say that I needed help. But once I learned what that was and I learned how many other people are struggling, I really, really wanted to become an advocate for that. And I wanted to be like somebody's shoulder to cry on. And I wanted to be someone that people could come to and feel safe with. And so I just became, a huge mental health advocate. I've worked it into kind of all areas of my life. And, still to this day, I still struggle, but I'm better equipped now to handle it than I was before.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I mean, honestly, up until a couple years ago, I probably didn't even really realize how important it was. Just not because I didn't know it, but it's not something people talk about, especially in athletics. And
Yeah.
I mean, like I was saying earlier, I mean, there's so many studies now where, when I was just reading one the other day, where it's basically saying because you have a lower ability to have tolerance of doing where you are, because you're less aware, because there's just too much going on, you're in a higher risk for injury just for sport. I mean, did you ever experience that from your end where it just was a challenge with that on that end?
Yeah, I think like my, I mean, if I'm thinking about it in like mental health, I think when you get injured, your mental health goes. I don't think I
Yeah.
necessarily saw like I mean, definitely when my mental health was, kind of not great, it was more distracting at practice. So I could see, how it kind of puts you at risk for more injury. Absolutely. Thankfully, I never got injured doing something like that, like doing like a skill. I think the only time I ever really got injured doing something is because I was really tired. I was on like California time and I was in Florida. So it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
Um,
National
but
time in DC right now.
yeah. So, I think for me it was more like mentally and physically exhausting. Like mental
Okay.
health takes a huge toll on your whole body, right? And it makes it harder to do gymnastics. So it's more of just like I'm so tired today, either whether that's physically or mentally, it just makes it so much harder to do the sport that you're supposed to do if you have mental health issues.
Yeah, no, and I guess, I mean, that leads to something just the pressure athletes carry in general, you know. Um, so I was a D1 athlete, but just a walk on. So like for you, you were a D1 high achieving athlete at not just one program, but two. Like how challenging was that to be able to balance mental health and be able to take that moment to even take care of that? I mean, it's different for each sport, but I really think, obviously, I mean, couldn't even imagine, especially in today's age.
Yeah, so at my first college, I went to Utah State, and my coach, she was really helpful in helping me with my mental health struggles. Um, and it took me a while to like open up, and my teammates were also extremely helpful in that. But I think the pressure is always there as a student athlete. Like, pressure will always be there, and I don't think it really totally changed too much between schools. But I mean, just having to deal with, I mean, mental health, school, athletics, recovery, family at home, friends, social life, like, you have so many things you're trying to balance, and it's really, really easy when you're kind of like in that spot to just kind of crawl in a hole and never come out of it, you know? So I think for me that was definitely like the biggest thing I had to learn how to do was to pressure makes diamonds. Yes. Yes, it does.
Definitely
Um,
true.
yeah, that's what somebody commented. Anyways, so yeah, the pressure was high, and as athletes, you have so much pressure, but it's not isolating yourself as well when you're having these mental health struggles. I mean, I've had them for 10 years plus, probably at this point. So it's just learning how to not isolate myself, and I learned that probably 8 years in. So I'm two
Yeah.
years into not isolating, and trying to be better at that.
Which I mean is, I mean, hard in its own right. I mean, I remember when I was in school, like there was a lot, much less pressures. I mean, we're talking, gosh, over 15 years ago, maybe. And it's
Yeah.
just, I mean, there's so much more on the plate right now. What about when you went from like, so maybe not necessarily the schools, but from going from like freshman and sophomore year, obviously you go from, man, I'm new to college. I have to prove myself. I have to be on a team. Everybody's as good as me, maybe potentially, maybe not in your case, but in most people's cases, was that a challenge for you from a mental health standpoint with performance and finding your place in the team?
I mean, yeah, especially in the gymnastics world, and I think this is also with a ton of different sports in college. But with gymnastics, there's only six lineup spots, so you're fighting for one of those six spots, right? And I think that's a lot of pressure, especially coming in as a freshman. You know, you don't have that experience of being on a podium. You don't have that experience of being in a coliseum with 8,000 people, so you're trying to get used to that as well as, being more consistent. And I think that was definitely challenging as you're, in your freshman and sophomore years. I think I was definitely on the luckier side. Up until my senior year, I never missed a meet. So I was in every lineup freshman up until senior year until I got injured my senior year. So I think for me, it was a quick turnaround. Like it was quick to learn how to do all of that. It was quick to learn how to handle the pressure. And it's funny because in my first gymnastics meet ever on podium as a freshman, our first meet of the season, the commentators were like, Amy put her in the last spot because she handles pressure well. And I was like, I've never been on the beam before, like especially at this kind of like level of gymnastics too. So it was really cool. I mean, that gives me confidence too, right? When you have somebody believing in you, that gives you confidence as well. So it's always just kind of I always just wanted to prove myself to them and prove that I was good enough to be on the beam. So
Sometimes
definitely that.
ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
No, you
Um,
had the same coach at both programs though, and a lot of the same team. I mean, was that almost like helpful having like a family environment from
yeah,
place to
it was
place?
definitely helpful. I mean, it was nice too because you didn't like, yes, we had girls come into the team in Clemson, but we didn't have to have like I didn't have to get used to new coaches and I didn't have to do a lot of like a lot of things that you do when you transfer. You don't have to get used I mean, you have to get used to the school and stuff, but I had like my six girls with me for the first year and then we kind of just built the culture and built the team from there. So it was really easy, I think, in that aspect. And then I think just as I got older, it became more of a okay, how can I be like I was called like a mom on my team. So like how can I be a mother figure to these girls?
You know, it's really funny to say that because my wife totally watched you once said I think she's the team mom.
I am. I am.
That's really funny. So what about when you were at Clemson? You know, obviously that portion's the same, but obviously stakes get higher in the sense of expectations from fans. And I don't know much about Utah State being from Greenville, South Carolina, and being from the East Coast, but was that almost? I mean, I remember going to some of those meets, and it was crazier than the basketball games, which was
Yeah.
awesome. But
It,
from
it,
y'all's
it was
standpoint, was that too?
incredible. Yeah, our fan base was awesome. It was really exciting. I think for that, it was different for sure, but I think like we always said like we feed off of the like energy of the crowd. So if you guys are cheering and you guys are out there and like making it fun for us, then we will probably do better because we're like, all right, like this is like our family, like we want to do well for them, like our Clemson family, right? So, and in Utah. it was just, I don't think gymnastics was just as big of a sport as it was. So we didn't have any commentator, or not commentators, but spectators. We had maybe like 800, and then in Clemson we have 8,600 something, right? So it's a very big difference, but I think we fed off of that energy for sure.
Which is so crazy because
Yeah.
you're talking about how mental health has affected you, but you're telling me you're feeding off of it, which is pretty cool. I mean, it kind of honestly reminds me of, I was going to get into this later, but I was at this UFC fight last week, and one of our fighters, he got hit, cut himself down to the bone, and you noticed as he, after that cut, he hit harder and harder and harder, and it was like,
Yeah.
then we find out later, like it's down to the bone, which is almost like you guys were using that mindset to almost feed off of it.
Yeah,
And
it does feed you. Like you get that energy. Like the energy is like, I don't know, it's energy, right? So it transfers. Um, and it was really helpful, I think, having like that much of a support system, especially in our first year. And then like just your teammates being there and you're all experiencing it together too. Like that's also really helpful. And I think I did a mental health documentary for Clemson Plus, and our team, like mental health person, she was in the documentary and she said something about like when you're in a loud environment, like sometimes your body can react to, okay, is this like, am I freaking out because like I've experienced something close to this before, or am I like getting used I don't know. She used really great terminology. I wish I remembered it, but it was something about how like mental health can like get triggered in situations like that too, because it's very overwhelming and that you can kind of just want to go back into your hole. But fighting that process too. Like if you're a football player and you're in a big game, and the whole crowd is cheering, and I don't know anything about football, so
no, the
I hope
stars
this is
shines.
yeah.
The saying would
So
be
if
the
you're trying
stars
to catch the
shine.
football and the crowd is yelling and you're focused on that, or if you're focused on where the ball is, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of just learning that, and that's a huge learning curve in on all of athletics, no matter what, whether you do struggle with mental health or not. So it's definitely interesting.
Did you almost have to kind of like be able to channel that when you were going through times of more of a challenge mental health wise?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many times too when like you're on an event in Little John with 8,600 something people and I don't hear a single thing. Like I don't know where my head's at, but I'm not listening to anyone like I'm not listening to anything that people are saying. So it's also like you got to be able to be in your own world.
It's almost like the ultimate piece in some
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome.
absolutely.
What about so I guess switching gears a little bit on this, did any of the mental health ever affect you outside of the arena?
Oh yeah. I mean, my whole life, right? I think mental health in any sort of athletics is it's not going to just affect your athletics, right? It's going to I mine originated from my life and then started affecting kind of like my gymnastics portion of my life, right? So it I mean, it will always probably I don't know if you can really just have mental health and know like anything with your sport, like be
Yeah,
not great outside your sport, but inside your sport be awesome and totally fine. Um, so it
there's
definitely
always something.
infiltrated that, and it was hard, like going to school, going to class, having the will to get up in the morning and go to class as a freshman at 8 a.m. in the snow. Like I don't want to do that. So it was finding the hard and like choosing what you wanted to do,
That
right?
makes sense. Now, I guess I mean, in your case, I mean, you were at Clemson, you're all ACC. You also, in some ways, like, I mean, I remember seeing how it seemed like your followers just increased drastically. Like, did those two things create more pressure to make it almost harder to even like I know you said that you wanted to be someone to rely on, but it almost like make it like, man, I have to worry about the weight of the world by that, or did you not have to deal with that as much?
I don't think I really felt like I had to. I mean, it was more of me living up to my own expectations, right? I'm like, okay, I made all ACC, like that's so awesome. And then I have to live up to that expectation now. I'm like, okay, I can never mess up again. And that will
Has to
obviously
be
not
perfect.
happen. Yeah, and that's obviously not going to happen, right? So I think it was just learning how to not be a perfectionist, honestly, was like one of the bigger things I had to learn, especially when it came to mental health wise. Because if I had a bad performance, I would just let that kill, like destroy me for weeks until I like got back on my feet and did a good performance. So definitely
That's pretty,
finding that balance.
probably helps to be able to bounce back and have that support system, I'm sure too.
Yeah, it also
Um,
helps that we had a meet every week because you had an option, you had another try in a week. So
you don't have a choice but to put it behind you.
right.
What about I mean, I don't know if this was something you ran into both by having a lot of influencers and I mean, followers and being at a bigger school, but what about like, did you ever get tired of being recognized? Like, I know for me, like, I'm not an athlete anymore, but just I'm involved in the community. I'm a pretty social guy. I get feed off of people. I'm that guy. If you hear the music, the loud noise, I'm probably getting energy. But sometimes nowadays, if people recognize me, I'm going running away as quick as I can.
I mean, I really don't get recognized that much, so I can't speak on that too much. But like, I mean, when you're in Clemson, if you're wearing a Clemson gymnastics shirt, somebody's gonna come up to you and ask you, right? But it was most of the time like younger girls who were like aspiring gymnasts or gymnasts that were like kind of like learning younger gymnasts going up in levels, right? So I think for me it was always just something I loved. Like I loved them. Like they're like, "Can we take a picture?" I'm like, "Absolutely. Please." Like I remember I was in the Dallas airport one time and this girl came up to me and she was like, "Can I please take a picture with you?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And then her mom um DM'd me a few like months later and was like, "This is what my daughter brought into like her book day or something." And it was a book she wrote about me. And it
Oh,
was
that's
like the
amazing.
sweetest little thing, right? So, I mean, I don't get recognized that often, but when it does happen, it's most of the time a good experience. So,
Well, we'll see what happens in a couple weeks in Clemson.
I know. We'll see.
Um, so I guess in terms of like performance and mental health, and you've kind of already touched on this to a degree, but did you ever feel like you had to put your mental health or your performance first? Like I know, I mean, when the stakes get higher, I mean, the one thing that we talked about the Mamba mentality a little bit last week, and I won't quote him, but um, people praise that, but in sports now, especially, like mental health is a very important topic, and athletes sometimes it gets shied down a little bit. But was that something you were able to kind of compartmentalize and be able to have the support to be able to feel like you could and you weren't being almost like judged for it?
um, can you rephrase that? Wait.
Yeah. Does your performance was it ever truly like affected by, was it so bad in terms of mental health that you had to choose between gymnastics or am I in a good type space?
Oh. I mean, there were for sure mental health days. I definitely took those. I mean, it gets to a certain point where if you're so much in your head, you can't. I mean, there's no point in you even going to practice. You're not going to be able to focus on things. You have a very high chance of getting hurt. So I definitely took my mental health days, and that was like nothing I was ever ashamed of. Like I felt bad almost for taking them because I was like, I don't want to skip out on a practice, and I don't want to do that, and like kind of make it feel like that. But it was a choice that I had to make for myself at that point. Like if I was really not doing great that day, I definitely took mental health days, and I had a lot of them my freshman year of college. So I mean, again, in the documentary on Clemson Plus, you'll hear all about it. There was
Yeah,
a lot of mental health days, and there was a lot of things that I had to, kind of work through. And being at practice wasn't going to help me with that. So my coaches were, supportive in that, and they let me, have my mental health days. And um,
that's pretty
so,
awesome.
yeah,
Now, did you feel like that diminished as you kept going with each year of experience?
the mental health days.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think I eventually also started getting better. So that's why they diminished. There was definitely, I mean, I took them every year. So there was definitely a few every year, and some months there would be more than others. Or preseason, there would be more than in season, or opposite around. So it was kind of just like they got lower, but because I chose to get better. If you don't choose to recover and you don't choose to, get the help you need, even if you're forced sometimes, it's not going to kind of get better. You have to make that choice yourself. So.
How was your, I guess for those people that would be listening that are wondering, how did you know, okay, I need to go take care of this. I need to handle this. Was it the coaches that kind of pushed you that way? Was it your family or your friends?
No, I had a teammate who really pushed me, which I'm so thankful for. Um, and she really helped me. And then from there, my coaches helped me, and then family and friends, and like all of that. So it was kind of just a mixture of everyone at once. It was just like, let's go.
That's awesome.
But it kind of
That-
started with some of my teammates.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
guess one thing I can't help thinking about is, I mean, just watching you on the beam is thinking of gymnastics, really, especially the event that you have. Like, it's such a high pressure sport. I
Hmm.
mean, catching a football is easy compared to that. Running a race in some ways, pressure wise, I would argue is easy. How do you even handle that from having the mental
Um,
health side of it with a high pressure scenario?
I would say, like, I mean, I think I got really good at just kind of handling pressure in general, whether it like pertained to like if I was having a bad mental health day. Like this year, there was a um, there was a meet on the anniversary of my high school shooting, and I didn't compete in it because I was injured. But that was like a huge like I knew my freshman year that I was going to have to like compete on that day, right? My senior year. So I knew that, and I worked towards that because every day or every time like I would go on that date, it would just be I would be a mess, obviously. I mean, I would just be a
Yeah,
mess. And so this year, I and like leading up to this, I was able to work on that and not just like kind of completely shut down that day. And I was able to be present at the meet, and we were able to wear bows for my school and kind of celebrate their lives as well. So it was like that was probably like one of my prouder moments was that I was able to actually do that and then honor them at the same time, whether I was competing or not.
yeah, no, that's amazing. I
Yeah.
mean, I can only imagine from that standpoint. It's definitely, I mean, high pressure situations from a lot, but that added on to it. I mean, that's incredible and just speaks to the fortitude on you.
Yeah.
Um, do you get to get a little off of this topic, but do you feel like that being able to handle those situations helps you just in your day-to-day life in terms of outside of sport?
Oh, 100%. I mean, if I didn't kind of go through like the mud and trudge through it, I think I would be way like I don't know. I don't think I would have the mental capacity to deal with half the things on a day-to-day basis. Like I think I would just crumble into a ball and like not be able to get through a day, honestly. Because sometimes emotions can be, I mean, emotions are very powerful, right? So sometimes they can take over you. And so learning how to not let them take over, especially in the middle of the day, if I'm like going out and I'm working or like whatever, um, not letting that kind of take control of my life, but being able to learn how to healthily push it to the side for a second and then dealing with it later and not just either pushing it all down for forever and never dealing with it.
Definitely been there.
Yeah.
No, that's definitely, I mean, incredible. I mean, I've only known you for a short time, but I mean, I even just hearing your story, just a brief bit of it, I would never guess any of it. So it's definitely I can see just that you're carrying yourself that way. It speaks to you. I guess is there anything you would love like anybody listening or any athletes who might be struggling with us to know about like that's so important right now with it? Because I mean mental health obviously is sometimes pushed aside and you obviously have faced it full force and that's awesome.
Yeah,
Uh,
mental health is huge, and I think for anyone watching, whether you're an athlete or not, I think understanding that reaching out for help is okay is the biggest thing. 'Cause for me, it was always something that I felt like ashamed of doing, and so just reach out for help. It's okay to ask for help, and you don't have to tackle everything on your own, right? Lean on those people around you and know that while somebody might not be experiencing exactly what you're experiencing, somebody's gone through something similar, and that you're really not alone in anything you do, because there are so many people around you that love you and care for you, and just fight for yourself. That's all.
I love that. Yeah, no, and I mean, mental health is such an important topic. And we decided to do this in two parts this time because we really, we wouldn't be able to do it justice without. So we hope that you guys tune in or at least watch it on our podcast,
Yes,
for
head
part
to
two, because
YouTube.
this will be even more fun.
Yes. Well, I appreciate you, Matt. It was great talking to you, and I'll see you next week.
Yes.
All right, see ya.